pupils, parents, and guardians. Let me start by thanking you for being a part of all our remote learning platforms, particularly our television program, The Classroom in Your Home. Each feedback has been awesome. Good job, you. Our teachers have been working assiduously to bridge the learning loss during this critical period. Therefore, I am pleased to inform you that the Classroom in Your Home has been extended to accommodate the lower primary classes and a dedicated lesson to cater for our special needs pupils in line with our mandate of providing an all-inclusive and quality basic education in our dear state.
Hello pupils, you're welcome to another wonderful edition of your favorite program, The Classroom in Your Home, a program organized by the Lagos State Government and packaged by the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, LASUBEB. It is to ensure that you're academically engaged in addition to what you're learning in school. I am Auntie Fumi, your English Studies teacher, and as usual, I have with me your wonderful teachers.
Hello children, I am your mathematics teacher, Uncle Agbaje, but you know me as the mathematician.
Uncle Popo is here, your general studies teacher.
Together,
we are bringing the classroom into your home.
Please stay tuned. Welcome to Auntie Fumi's class. In our English Studies lesson today, we will look at unchangeable verbs and irregular verbs. Unchangeable verbs and irregular verbs. I am sure you are all aware of what verbs are, but today we will look at unchangeable and irregular verbs. But before we go into the learning objective for today's lesson, a correction to our homework. In our last lesson, we looked at uncountable nouns and their quantifiers. So you were asked to fill in the gaps with the appropriate assisting words or quantifiers. So we have a dash of hair, and the answer is a strand of hair. A part of butter or a knot of butter, whichever one you have. A morsel of food, a morsel of food. A gust of wind, and a breath of fresh air. Auntie Fumi got 5 out of 5. What about you? You are awesome totally, and I need to celebrate you with a cheer. Good job, you. Now to the learning objective for today's lesson. Don't forget, today we're looking at irregular verbs, unchangeable verbs, and irregular verbs. And the learning objective is that by the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the verbs that do not change forms. Identify the verbs that do not change forms. Not only that, you should also be able to identify the irregular verbs and their forms in the past and perfect tense. Identify the irregular verbs and their forms in past and perfect tense. So, let's begin. We are very familiar with regular verbs that you add D and ED to form past tense and past perfect tense. When you have a word, you need to form the past tense and you add D to it. You need to form the past perfect tense and you add ED to it. We are familiar with that. But then, we have examples like walk, walked, walked. As examples, walk, walked, walked. Play, played, played. Cook, cooked, cooked. That is the present tense, the past tense, and the past perfect tense. However, there are verbs that do not change forms when forming their past and perfect tense. There are verbs that do not change forms when forming their past and perfect tense. These verbs can be said to be unchangeable verbs. These verbs can be said to be unchangeable verbs. Likewise, we have verbs that you change their vowels or you add letter or letters to form past and perfect tense. Let's look at examples of verbs that do not change their forms. Examples of verbs that do not change their forms are broadcast. It remains broadcast in the past tense and in the perfect tense. You have broadcast, broadcast, broadcast as present tense, past tense, and perfect tense. Same thing goes for short. Same thing goes for short, short, short. Put, put, and put. I'm talking about the present tense, past tense, and the perfect tense. Hit, H-I-T, hit. It remains hit in the past tense and hit in the perfect tense. Spread remains spread and spread in the past tense and in the perfect tense forms. Burst, B-U-R-S-T, burst. It's burst in the present tense, burst in the past tense, and burst in the perfect tense form. Cast, cast, and cast. Set is set in the past tense form and set in the perfect tense form. Split, split, and split. Same thing goes for sweat. It remains sweat in the past tense form and sweat in the perfect tense form. Quit, quit is quit in the past tense form and quit in the perfect tense form. Same thing goes for shed, shed, shed. What about cost? Cost as a present tense, past tense is cost. The perfect tense is also cost. Same thing goes for cut, 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 cut. Are we together? Now let's look at examples of irregular verbs. Examples of irregular verbs. The ones that you need to change maybe a letter or two letters when considering the past tense and the perfect tense forms. Find. The past tense of find is found and the perfect tense remains found. What about fly? The past tense of fly is brilliant children, is flew, and the perfect tense is flown. Hang, H-A-N-G, hang. The past tense is hung, and the perfect tense remains hung. Go, brilliant children, went and gone. What about give? Give, gave, and given. Draw. The past tense of draw is drew, and the past perfect tense is drawn, D-R-A-W-N, drawn. Ring, rang, wrong. That is R-U-N-G. Begin. That is the mathematician favorite word. Begin. Yeah. Begin, began, and begone. Arise, arose, arisen. Drive, the past tense of drive is drove, and the perfect tense driven. Steal. I believe none of you do that. You don't steal. Good. Steal, the past tense of steal is stole, And the perfect tense is stolen, sell, sold, sold. Ride, rode, and ridden. R-I-D-D-E-N, ridden. Tear, tore, and torn. That is T-O-R-N, torn. Wear, wore, and worn. That is W-O-R-N, worn. Feed. What is the past tense of feed? Fed. And the perfect tense remains fed. No is in the present tense form. No is in the present tense form. The past tense of no is what? Knew. And the perfect tense is known. Catch is another word. Catch. The past tense of catch is caught. And the perfect tense remains caught. Now it's activity time. Today we have looked at unchangeable verbs and irregular verbs. And we had a lot of examples of unchangeable verbs and examples of irregular verbs. Now it's activity time. Choose the correct answers. A dog dashed Lola yesterday. A dog dashed Lola yesterday. Is it bite, beat, or beaten? The water in the fridge has dash. The water in the fridge has dash. Frozen, freezed, froze. Number 3. The book I bought yesterday costs 500 naira. Is it costed, costs, or costs? Number 4. The tailor has dashed a pair of trousers for me. The tailor has dashed a pair of trousers for me. Is it sewn, S-O-W-N, sewn, S-E-W-N, or sewed, S-C-W-E-D? What is the answer? And lastly, the money was dashed under the bed. Is it hide, is, or hidden? You have 30 seconds to write just the answers, and your time starts now. Your pens down. Pens down. Eyes on me. Yes, you have 5 answers. And I'm sure you have correct answers because you're children. Now let's do the correction together. A dog beat Lola yesterday. B-I-T. That is the past tense of bite. The water in the fridge has frozen. That is in the perfect tense form. Freeze, froze, frozen. Good. The book I bought yesterday costs 500 naira. Don't forget to talk about unchangeable verbs. Cost, cost, costs. The book I bought yesterday costs 500 naira. I believe nobody chose costed. No, costed is wrong. Is incorrect. Number 4. The tailor has sewn, S-E-W-N, sewn a pair of trousers for me. So, the tailor has sewn a pair of trousers for me. S-E-W-N is the answer. And lastly, the money was hidden under the bed. The money was hidden under the bed. The answer is hidden. Hide, hid, hidden. 5 out of 5. Oh, you 4. You 3. No problem. I still celebrate you with a cheer. Good job, you. Now to what Auntie Fumi loves most, assignments. It's assignment time, appraisal time. So, in a tabular form, you write the past and past perfect or the perfect tenses of the following. In a tabular form, you write the past and the perfect tenses of the following. Write, choose, sting, hit, and strike. Another 30 seconds to capture the assignment, and I will be back to sign out. Well done, children. You have your assignments copied now, well captured. Make sure you submit your assignments, and don't forget to indicate your name, your school, your class, and your local government education authority. That is the only way to identify you and appraise you accordingly. And that's it for today. We have come to the end of the English Studies lesson for today. Today we looked at unchangeable verbs and irregular verbs, and we had fun having examples of those verbs. It is time to hand you over to the mathematician, Uncle Agbaje, for a loaded mathematics lesson. Don't forget, Auntie Fumi is always proud of you. Bye for now.
Hello children, you are welcome to this segment of the program, The Classroom in Your Home. It is mathematics time, and that means it is time to have some fun. I am Uncle Agbaje. In the last couple of lessons, we have been exploring the idea of area, which is the total space covered by a shape. We have looked at how to calculate the area of a square, the area of a rectangle, the area of a parallelogram, the area of triangles, the area of compound shapes, and in the last lesson we looked at how to find the area of trapezoids. You were given an assignment. Today we will extend our work on area to real-life applications. We'll be looking at calculating land areas in hectares. But before we go into that, let's look at the correction to the last homework. The parallel sides here, of course, are 8 centimeters and 17 centimeters. And the height in this case, the perpendicular height, not the slant height, but the perpendicular height is 4 centimeters. So A and B is 8 and 17 respectively. 8 centimeter is A, and the longer one is 17 centimeters. And of course, the perpendicular height, H, is 4 centimeters. So putting this in the formula that we have established, we are to find half of A plus B, then multiply by the perpendicular height. That is half of 8 centimeters plus 17 centimeters plus multiplied by the perpendicular height, which is 4 centimeters. 8 plus 17 will give us 25. I did say in the last lesson that we should add these numbers first before multiplying. Okay, so now resolving that, 2 goes here 1, 2 goes here 2. Now 25 centimeters times 2 centimeters will give us 50 centimeters squares, and that is the area for this trapezoid. And I'm sure that you got that right. And for that, I will celebrate you as usual with a chair. Now moving on to today's learning objectives. I did say that we will be studying land areas in hectares. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to state the units for measuring land areas. You should also be able to convert land areas from hectares to square kilometers, and of course convert land areas from hectares to square meters. All right, so what is this all about? Well, remember that area is the total space covered by a closed shape. Now in real life, human beings are more concerned with the total space that they have acquired, and in this case we are usually concerned about the space of land. How large is the land that we want to build our houses upon, or that we want to use for farming, agricultural purposes, or business purposes. It is common, perhaps you've learned in Uncle Popo's class, that one of the causes of conflict is land disputes. When people start arguing, my land is as big as this, no, you are encroaching on my land, okay? But in real life, people use land measurement when they are selling land and when they are buying lands to know the exact amount of land that they are buying. And so land itself is space. Now we talk about the areas of large portions of land. I'm sure that you have heard a parent talking about buying plots of land. A plot is a unit of measuring land. Some people talk about acres. Acres are also units of measuring land. In fact, in 1 acre of land, you'll find 6 plots. But that is under the imperial unit system. We will be talking about the metric unit system, where we measure parcels of land in hectares and square meters or square kilometers, because obviously lands are large areas, centimeters are too small to measure them. Okay, so what is the square kilometer? It's just a square parcel of land with 1 kilometer by the length and 1 kilometer by the breadth. But there are other parcels of land that can equal 1 square kilometer. Now, let's talk about what 1 hectare is. The hectare is a unit of measuring land area, and that is a 100 meter by 100 meter parcel of land. When you have a parcel of land, when you move across the parcel of land and you get 100 meters, you move 100 meters by the length, 100 meters by the breadth, then you're said to have covered a portion of land that is 1 hectare. Again, 1 hectare of land is 100 meter by 100 meter. Length is 100 meters, breadth is 100 meter. And the real life application that we can give is a football field, a standard football field. Think of that stadium when you're watching the match between Barcelona and Real Madrid, that big stadium. And then a little addition to that is 1 hectare. 1 hectare is just a little bit bigger than a standard football field. Okay, so again, 1 hectare is 100 meters by 100 meters. And when we want to give this value in terms of meter squares, it is actually 10,000 meter squares, and I will explain why. We have said that an hectare is a parcel of land that is 100 meters length, 100 meters breadth. So let's say 1 hectare, we'll use HA to represent hectare. 1 hectare is 100 meters by the length and 100 meters by the breadth. So if you find the area of that square parcel of land, then we multiply length times breadth. Now 1 times 1 is 1. Then we'll collect all the zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and then meters squares, that is square meters. So that is 10,000 square meters. So 1 hectare is actually 10,000 square meters. Keep that at the back of your mind. We are going to need it in conversion later on. Another important relationship to note is that 100 hectares is 1 kilometer square. That is, when you have a parcel of land and you have 1 kilometer by the length and 1 kilometer by the breadth, the area will be 1 kilometer square. But that is 100 hectare. Again, to show that we know from the previous slide that 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. And so 100 hectare will be to multiply this side by 100, and that is to multiply this side by 100 again. Again, if 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters, 100 hectares will be 100 times 10,000 square meters. And that is just multiplying 1 by 1 and collecting all the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 zeros. And that is 1 million square meters. But we want to change it to kilometer square or square kilometers. And so this 1 million square meters can be written in 2 places, like 1,000 meters times 1,000 meters. It is still 1 million square meters. But 1,000 meter is 1 kilometer. So this 1,000 meter, 1 kilometer, 1,000 meter, 1 kilometer. Then 1 kilometer times 1 kilometer is 1 kilometer square. And so 100 hectares is 1 kilometer square. That's another relationship to keep down at the back of your mind. But don't worry, I won't make you cram it. I'll put it there for you so that you can work with it. So what have we discovered? 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. Then 100 hectares is 1 square kilometer. And it is also the same thing as 1 million square meters. 1 square kilometer, 1 million square. So I put everything here for you. 100 hectares is 1 square kilometers. 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. And 1 million square meters is 1 kilometer squared. So we'll use that to work. See, I've put it in the corner for you. There is really nothing to cram. It's just to know how to manipulate them when we want to make conversion from one unit to another. You can write this down in your notebook. But the first example that we want to work with says that we should convert 35 hectares to square meter. Imagine that somebody wants to buy some parcels of land and he wants to buy 35 hectares. But he wants to know how many square meters that really is. Okay, so to convert that, we only need to look for which relationship combines hectares and square meters. Then this is the relationship. 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. This can be read as meter square or square meters. 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. So that's the relationship we need because we want to change hectare to square meters. So we'll write that relationship out. 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. We know that. So if we want to get anything, you don't need to worry about the grammar. Just worry about what do you know? What do you want to get? What we know is that 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. Now we want to find 35 hectares. And that means we have to multiply 1 hectare by 35. If 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters, 35 hectares will be 35 times of what 1 hectare is. And that is 35 times 10,000 meters square or 10,000 square meters. So now multiplying the significant digits, 35 times 1 is 35. Then I add all the zeros and I get 35, then 4 zeros. That is 350 square meters. So 35 hectares is 350,000 square meters. It's as simple as that. So the question again says convert 35 hectares to square meters. And using the relationship between hectares and square meters, we'll multiply by 35 and we'll get this. So when you want to make any conversion, just look for the relationship and that's where you begin. Check out the next example. This example says convert 475 hectares to square kilometers. So now we need to look for a relationship between hectares and square kilometers. Hectares, square kilometers, that is the second relationship. So we'll first write that relationship. 100 hectares is 1 square kilometers. Now we want to find for 475 hectares. Now, how did we get this? Well, let me select a pen here. Now, we want to go from 100 hectares to 475 hectares. And that means that we have to increase 100 to 475. They are now in the ratio 100 to 475. Then we'll come to the right side. We also have to increase the square kilometers in that ratio 100 to 475. Remember our work on ratio increase. If we have to increase something in a particular ratio, we put the bigger number on top. So since we want to increase 1 kilometer square, we have to multiply that, everything we want to use to increase by 1 kilometer square. But what we are using to increase will be the ratio 100 to 475. And since 475 is the bigger one, then it comes on top, 100 comes below. And that is why we have 475 over 100, because we are increasing 1 kilometer. If 100 hectares has increased to 475, 1 kilometer square also has to increase. What it is increasing to is what we don't know, but we have to put the bigger of these two numbers on top and the smaller one below. Now that we know this, we only need to resolve 475 over 100. That is 475 hundredths, and we have done something like this in our previous lesson, but I will just remind you, 475 hundredths, if you use place value method, you write unit, tenth, hundredth, then you write 475 there, starting from the hundredth. Starting from the hundredth, because we are dealing with hundredth. 5, 7, 4, and then we have a decimal point in between. And so our final answer in this case, when we divide 475 by 100, we get 4.75. And so we have 4.75 times 1 kilometer squares. And 4.75 times 1 is 4.75 kilometers squared. So that means that 475 hectares is 4.75 kilometers squares. The area you need to focus on is how you move from 100 to 475. They are in the ratio 100 to 475. So you have to increase this one in that ratio by putting the bigger number on top and the smaller number below before multiplying. And final answer is 4.75 kilometers squares. So again, you begin from the relationship. Now I believe that all gray areas would have been cleared. Test your hand on the class activity which is coming up right about now. I still have the relationships there for you to pick the one that is appropriate. You are to express 250 hectares in square kilometers, and you are to convert 9,500 square meters to hectares. Begin. Alrighty then, I believe that you are done working. Let's now run through it together. The first one says we should express 250 hectares in square kilometers. So we look for a relationship between hectare and square kilometers, and that's the second one. So we write it out. 100 hectares is 1 square kilometers. Now we want to change 250 hectares. So we write 250 here. Okay, it's 250 hectares. And that means we have increased this. So we have to increase this as well by putting the bigger number of these two on top and the smaller number below, then multiplying by 1 hectare, that we 1 kilometer square rather, that we want to increase. Okay, so that's how it's going to be. Let me just erase this so that you can see. So you have 250 divided by 100 times 1 meter square, which we want to increase. So this is the scaling factor that we are using, 250 over 100. Now we can cancel 25, 0 can cancel 0, and we have 25 tenths, which of course again will give us 2.5. We use the unit tenths method, and so we will have 2.50 times 1 kilometer squares. Of course, this 0 is insignificant because it's coming after the decimal point. So we still have 2.5 times 1 kilometer squares. Then our final answer is 2.5 kilometer squares. And that means that 250 hectares is 2.5 kilometer squares. I believe you got that right. Let's check the next one. This one says we should convert 9,500 square kilometers to hectares. So we look for the relationship between square meters and hectares. And that is the first relationship. 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. So we use that and write it out. 10,000 meters square, 10,000 square meters is the same thing as 1 hectare. Now we want to go to 9,500. And because we're coming down, we'll put the smaller number on top and put 10,000 below. Because we are going down, the number is reducing, so we'll put the smaller number on top and put the bigger number below. And we want to scale down 1 hectare, so we'll multiply by 1 hectare. Now, we can let 2 zeros cancel 2 zeros, and we're left with 95 all over 100, which is 95 hundredth. 95 hundredth. So using the place value approach, after unit we have a decimal point, then tenth, then hundredth, and we have to put 95 under that. That is 5, 9, and so there will be a decimal point here, and we just put a 0 to tidy up everything. So this is 0.95, and that means that our final answer for 95 hundredths is 0.95. So I will just write that out. 9,500 meters squares becomes, here we got 0.95, and we're still multiplying by 1 hectare. And our final answer, 0.95 times 1 will give us 0.95 hectares. I believe that is what you got as well, my friend. Good job, you. You are to solve this. Change 12.5 kilometers squares to hectares. I believe you have made a note of all this relationship between kilometer squares, hectares, and square meters. Change 350 square meters to hectares. Change 685 hectares to square kilometers. Copy this in 30 seconds, and I will be right back. Alrighty then, I believe that you are done writing. We have come to the end of the mathematics lesson for today. I believe you have picked up some new learning, knowing about hectares and how to measure land around you. It's time for me to hand you over to Uncle Popo for the general studies lesson. Till I come your way in the next class, remain wonderful mathematicians. Bye bye now.
Hello, pupils. You are welcome to General Studies class. I am Uncle Popo. Uncle Popo is here. We are here together. Brilliant one. 100% attention is what I want you to give me in today's lesson. Our subject for today is agricultural science. In our last lesson in agricultural science, we discussed historical development of agriculture. We looked at historical development of agriculture. Aside from Nigeria, we talked about the old age, old stone age. We talked about the dark age, and we talked about the new age. Here in Nigeria, we talked about the historical development of agriculture in Nigeria, pre-colonial period, colonial period, and post-colonial period. We discussed all these stages of development in agriculture in Nigeria. Today, we want to look at a very simple and interesting topic, and the topic is climate. Say that. That is the topic for today, climate. The learning objectives. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define climate, and you should be able to list what constitutes climate. Climate now. Now, talking about climate, in one of our lessons, we talked about weather, and you were told that weather is the atmospheric condition of a place for a short period of time. Then the opposite of it is the climate. That's the atmospheric condition of a place over a long period of time. So climate is the average weather in a given area over a long period of time. It has to do with a long period of time. Now, climate is an important element because it indicates the atmospheric condition of heat, moisture, and circulation. It plays an important role in shaping vegetation and soil, and it ultimately affects all forms of life. Climate dictate or shapes the kind of vegetation and soil we have. Now, we have different climates across the world, just like here in Nigeria, it's different from the ones we have in other countries. So our climate helps us to shape our vegetation and our soil. Still talking about climate, a description of a climate includes information on, we will talk about the average temperature in different seasons, the rainfall and sunshine. Talking about climate, it's talking about the season. Maybe we have the dry season, the wet season. It's talking about the rainfall, and it's talking about the sunshine. So, still talking about climate, let's look at what constitutes climate. We have one of it is the temperature. What constitutes climate? The first one is temperature. Say that. Talking about, and the next one is rainfall. That's another one. Then we have light, we have wind, and we have humidity. All these are what constitutes a climate. All these we need when talking about agriculture or when talking about farming. Now let's take it one after the other. And next one, before I forget, that is atmospheric pressure. That's one of those things that constitute a climate. Atmospheric pressure is also there. Talking about temperature. Accumulated temperature is a weather parameter that directly influences the productivity of agricultural plants. The heat, when we are talking about temperature, we are talking in terms of, let's say, the heat supply of crops is characterized by some of average daily air temperatures that are higher than a biological minimum during a vegetation period. The next one is rainfall. Rainfall. So that's another one. All plants need at least some water to survive. Therefore, rain, being the most effective means of watering, is important to agriculture. I think we cannot deny this fact that is why during the rainy season, most farmers are always happy because it will help them to water all what they have planted. It's different from just going to wet their crops themselves, maybe when we are not in the rainy season. But during rainy season, they are always very happy because it helps the plants or the crops to germinate properly. And all plants need at least some water to survive. Therefore, rain being the most effective means of watering is important to agriculture. I've said that. So while a regular rain pattern is usually vital to healthy plants, a regular rain pattern is very vital to healthy plants. It helps. That's why during the rainy season, you see that some plants grow the way they grow. Even the color, the green color will come out, and the plants are very happy during this period. It's very vital to healthy plant. Too much, but there is this warning: too much or too little rainfall can be harmful. Too much or too little rainfall can be harmful. Anything too much too is not good. When it's not much, it's still very bad too. So too much or too little rainfall can be harmful, even devastating to crops. Next one is light. Light also constitutes as one of the constitute of a climate. Light is an essential factor in maintaining plants. That's why when talking about photosynthesis, the process through which plants manufacture their food, there's no way we'll not talk about light. The rate of growth and length of time a plant remains active is depending on the amount of light it receives. Light energy is used in photosynthesis, the plant's most basic metabolic process. When talking about wind, when talking about air, like we discussed it, that too much rainfall could be harmful, and when it's not much, it's also dangerous. Likewise, talking about wind, talking about air, the plants need it to have it at a normal rate. When it's too much, it affects the growth of the plant. When it's not much, it also affects the growth of the plant. And next one is humidity. Humidity is the next. Humidity is important to make photosynthesis possible. When we say humidity, what do we mean? That's the amount of moisture in the air. So it's very important. Good humidity around the plant is even more important than the most other crops, because the plant can only absorb a reduced amount of humidity and hence has less water evaporation than most plants. Talking about that, humidity, like I said, is the amount of moisture in the air. I told you the plants need adequate air. When it's too much, is a problem. If it's not adequate, is another problem. Likewise, talking about the moisture of the air, it has certain level that will help the plant to grow very well. And if it is not up to that level, it will also affect the growth of the plant negatively. In today's lesson, we talked about climate, and we were told that climate is the average weather in a given area over a long period of time. And all what constitutes climate, the temperature, rainfall, light, wind, humidity, and atmospheric pressure. Evaluation. I have just two questions. The first one is, what is climate? Second question, list any 5 elements that constitutes climate. You have just 30 seconds to do this. Your time starts now. Now on to the answers. Number 1, climate is the average weather in a given area over a long period of time. The atmospheric condition of a place over a long period of time. And number 2, list any 5 elements that constitutes climate. We have the temperature, rainfall, light, wind, humidity, atmospheric pressure. So any 5 of these, you are very correct. So mark the 2. Have you done that? Good. If you got the 2 correctly, you deserve to be given a chair. Fine. So on to the next segment, and that is In My Planet. In my planet, what's the response? Great things are happening. When I say great things are happening, then you say in my own planet. In my planet, great things are happening. Good. Great things are happening in my own planet. Let's see the great things that are happening in our own planet. This week we want to look at the inventions by Nigerians you might not know about. We looked at one last time. Let's look at another invention by a Nigerian. Now listen. Microchip used in minimally invasive surgical robots. In this invention, the microchip was designed and embedded in robots which were used in performing minimally invasive surgeries. The microchip had the ability to store information, and it is also able to control the surgical robot. The microchip was invented by engineer Ndubuisi Ekekwe, and that invention was giving the Nigerian engineer many accolades, awards, and international recognition. You can see our people, the Nigerians, are really making great things happening. So this invention was invented by engineer Ndubuisi Ekekwe in trying to make that microchip embedded in a robot, and the robot could perform surgical operation. That was a great one by a Nigerian. So you can also make great things happen irrespective of any field you are, and what you just need to do is work more on your skill, work more on your talents, and one day you will be one of the record breakers. Until next time, don't forget, it is better to do it better in order to make you better for the betterment of our society. Applying common knowledge in an uncommon way makes you a great person. Until next time, Uncle Popo says, keep on studying. Bye.
Please encourage your wards to tune in and take every advantage of this laudable program. Also remember, this pandemic is not over. Let us continue to abide by all health and safety guidelines as stipulated by the government. At LASUBEB, we are determined to leave no child behind in our quest to improve the standard of basic education in our state. Thank you.
My wonderful pupils, we have come to the end of another exciting episode on the classroom in your home.
Fun filled, fun packed. We hope that you enjoyed yourselves as much as we did, bringing new lessons in mathematics, English studies, and general studies into your home. Now practice, that is the mother of perfection. For you to be perfect at all that you have learned, you might want to take our online tests that we have put together in a catalog for you. You can access these tests using the link bit.ly/LASUBEB tests. The link again is bit.ly/LASUBEB tests. Remember, these tests are our way of knowing how well you are performing so that we can help you to improve on your performance.
Taking the online assessment or online test is based on if you have access to either your daddies, your mommies, your uncles, or your aunties' Android or smartphones. If not, there's no problem. Just send your questions, your comments, and your assignments to 081 50 86 5663. Please, SMS and WhatsApp messages only. Do not call. And when you're sending in your assignments, make sure you indicate your name,
Your school,
Your class.
and your local government education authority, your LGA. This is the only way by which we will be able to identify you and appraise you accordingly.
Fun-filled, fun-packed characterize today's lessons. All the lessons taught today and previous ones are on LASUBEB YouTube channel for you to watch. You can subscribe to LASUBEB YouTube channel to get notification when new videos are uploaded. The classroom in your home could be watched live on Facebook through the page showing on the screen.
Till our next lesson when we shall meet again on the classroom in your home. Make sure you do your homework.
Wash your hands regularly.
keep studying hard, but stay safe.
At LASUBEB, we leave no child behind.